It all starts in the city of Nanrong, exactly on the awakening day for the high school seniors. Inside a packed student bus, a boy wakes up startled. Jiang Yan looks around, completely shocked by the situation. Seeing his classmates alive, he realizes with relief that he has actually gone back in time. Then the boy remembers that the whole class was heading to the station to awaken their classes. With his mind racing, he concludes that there are exactly 2.5 years left before the city is destroyed. 15 years ago, the demon lairs appeared out of nowhere, and the monsters decimated humanity. But when mankind tried to fight back, they discovered that firearms were useless against magic. Sometime later, they noticed that 18-year-olds could awaken classes and gain magical powers. After a long war, humans took control of the lairs and changed the structure of society. Nowadays, every young person who reaches that age goes to the stations to do their awakening. The classes are divided into combat, support, and creation, with the latter being the most looked down upon by everyone. Back to the present, Jiang Yan remembers that in his past life he awakened a creation class. However, his innate ability was a divine modification gift, capable of turning trash into treasure. Back then, he made the mistake of revealing his power and was summoned by the big shots to work as a pawn. He spent his days upgrading equipment, but such great power only generated fear among the authorities. Because of that, the leaders put him under house arrest to maintain total control over him. Until a colossal dragon invaded the city, and Jiang Yan had to face the beast at a disadvantage. On the verge of being eliminated, he activated his innate modification ability and managed to revive. Outside, an announcement plays on the bus warning that they are arriving at the lair station. Deep in thought, the boy decides that focusing on those who used him in his past life does not matter anymore. Looking out the window, he swears to himself that this time he will not tell anyone about his power. Keeping the secret is the only way to protect his family, his friends, and the city itself. Very confident, he decides to develop himself in silence to get strong and save himself in the future. The group finally hops off in front of the massive Awakening Association complex. Already in the lobby, the students walk nervously, afraid of getting some useless creation class. Some of them look at the MC with envy, thinking the school's genius is going to get something strong. Interrupting the chatter, the teacher warns that perfect grades do not guarantee a good awakening. The master makes it clear that even people with high magical affinity can end up with terrible classes. Shortly after, he calls Jiang Yan to go first and set a good example for the rest of the class. Walking up to the altar, the class receives instructions to just place their hands on the crystal ball. The evaluator calls the MC by his name, asking him to step up and start the process. Without hesitating, the young man steps forward through the hall. While walking, he stays super calm, already knowing exactly what the result will be. The girls cheer excitedly for him, while the teacher prays he does not get a technical class. As soon as he reaches the center, the boy reaches out and touches the magic crystal. Immediately, an intense golden energy begins to glow around his fingers. A massive pillar of light erupts around him, catching the attention of everyone in the lobby. Above his head, the hologram of a giant gear reveals the tinsmith class. The system panel confirms that the great school genius got a rank F creation class. Seeing the result, the teacher falls into despair and puts his hands on his head in disbelief. Meanwhile, the students start laughing in his face, mocking the fact that it is the worst possible class. One of the guys bursts into laughter, celebrating that the rival who always beat him failed completely. But the MC does not care about the jokes, as he knows that fixing equipment makes a lot of money. Suddenly, an intense blue light begins to glow in his other hand. The evaluator yells for them to wait, warning that the boy is about to awaken a dual class. Shocked, the teacher regains his hope, praying that the second class saves the student. At that moment, new beams of magical light shoot through the air around the MC. This time a glowing symbol appears, revealing the farmer class. The status screen updates, showing that he now has 2 rank F creation classes. The evaluator and the teacher are stunned, not understanding how he managed to make the situation worse. The crowd loses it and starts laughing even louder at their classmates' double failure. Ignoring the humiliation, the young man just turns around and starts to leave. The teacher lets out a heavy sigh, mourning his best student's awful luck. Walking alone back to the exit, he distances himself from the gossip. Satisfied with the situation, he finds it funny to be called unlucky just for hitting rock bottom. The boy does not seem the least bit shaken by the disastrous result of his awakening. Opening his panel, he admires his innate modification ability that costs very little mana. Wasting no time, he uses the power to swap his growth ability for the resurrection one. The system confirms the change instantly, granting him the power to heal and revive any target. Very excited, the guy knows that if he uses this ability wisely, he will not depend on anyone. Standing in front of a giant screen, he checks the city's rookie rankings. Soon, he decides he's going to take first place in all the competitions. With a determined look, he wants to show them the terror of being dominated by a rank F class. Sometime later, he arrives at the novice training base, which is full of weak monsters. Observing the place, he knows it is the safest environment to farm experience. Besides, breaking the area's record guarantees extra points for future tournaments. The young man moves forward focused, aware that this will secure his spot in the best university. At the entrance, one of the guards checks the clipboard and confirms the guy's name and his class. The officer gets worried and asks if he is sure he wants to enter the dungeon alone. Being completely honest, he advises the boy to find a team since his class is weak. But Jiang Yan ignores the warning and calmly asks them to hand over his novice gear. The guards whisper among themselves, thinking the boy went crazy for not accepting reality. Even thinking it is a bad idea, the man hands the basic items to the guy. Holding the weapons, he notices he got an extra pair of boots out of the guard's pity. Looking at the system panel, Jiang Yan checks the level 1 iron sword and leather boots he just received. Gripping the basic weapon, he realizes that, even though the guards meant well, they are still underestimating his capability. At that moment, the massive metal gates slowly begin to open, revealing the entrance to the training area. Walking calmly into the place, the boy hears the guard warn that a rescue knight will help if the rabbits are too much for him. Just waving back, the MC thanks him for the reminder while moving forward into the darkness. With a loud thud, the large door shuts completely, and he is sure the officers will soon have a peace of mind. Jumping toward the battlefield, the young man wastes no time and immediately activates his innate modification ability on the gear. Instantly, the system confirms the evolution of his iron sword into a steel one, and grants a nice speed boost to the boots. Landing with the upgraded weapon in hand, he figures that turning the item into a holy or magic sword would give way more power. But remembering the surveillance cameras scattered around the place, the guy decides it is best not to draw too much attention for now. After all, he already suffered a lot in his past life by letting his true talent leak to the wrong people. Looking at the blade's gleam, he knows a level 1 gear has its strength limits, but for the current situation, it is enough. Standing in front of a huge illuminated path, the boy reviews the rules that divide the field into basic, advanced, and boss areas. In the middle of the darkness, dozens of red eyes start to glow, while he focuses on reaching the final area to break the record. Facing the desolate scenery ahead, the ultimate goal becomes clear. He needs to wipe out the boss rabbit to win the challenge. The system quickly identifies the monsters as adult charging rabbits, which already start to surround the area aggressively. Positioning his sword, Jiang Yan calculates that his goal is to reach level 5, and for that, he will need to take down at least 100 of these beasts. Wasting no time, one of the monsters furiously leaps toward the boy's face to start the attack. Facing the huge horde of creatures charging at him, the MC stays totally focused and ready for the mayhem. He charges forward, dealing a finishing blow, aware that only at level 5 will he have the required qualification to challenge the Cyclone Wolf's base. Slicing the monster in half, the young man agrees the place is a nightmare for rookies, but it serves perfectly for farming experience fast. With fluid and relentless movements, he cuts down several rabbits at once, planning to use this area to hit level 10 in one go. The steel blade shines as he shreds the enemies along the way, focused on unlocking his legendary supreme ability. In the guy's mind, the image of this divine technique motivates him, as it allows the creation of the most powerful magic beasts in existence. With a sharp look, he knows mastering this power will guarantee an absolutely overwhelming strength for his future. While wiping out the beasts, the boy remembers Yang Hongwei, his old school rival, figuring he must have done his awakening by now. Far away in the association's hall, the master of ceremonies calls out the exact name of this rival to step up to the main altar. The teacher watches the student approach, desperately hoping he gets any class higher than the MC's failure. As soon as the young man touches the crystal, a gigantic explosion of magical energy lights up the whole lobby, surprising the audience. In the middle of the intense flash, the system hologram forms and reveals that the boy just awakened the powerful Berserker class. Triumphant, Yang Hongwei raises his arms and lets out a hysterical laugh seeing he got an A-rank combat class. The crowd goes into shock at the result, impressed that he finally surpassed the school's genius after 3 years in the shadows. Full of arrogance, the new Berserker points at his own chest and forbids anyone from calling him the eternal second place ever again. With a wicked smile, he declares that, from that moment on, the class only has one true leader occupying the absolute top. Pushing his hair back, the guy brags about his new position of power and savors the glory he waited so long for. His cronies start sucking up right away, mocking how Jiang Yan's useless classes could never stand a chance. Looking for his rival, Yang gets frustrated noticing the MC is gone and questions which hole the loser went to hide in. At that moment, one of the students raises his hand and says he saw the boy walking straight to the novice training base. With a malicious look, the berserker calls his friends to head over there, pretending they are going to help the former genius deal with the monsters. Watching the scene from afar, the teacher expects the worst, knowing the bully is going to use his family's influence to humiliate his rival. The master feels deeply sorry, as he always saw how much the MC pulled all-nighters studying in the library to be the best. Besides, the boy trained his body to total exhaustion on the running track to push past all limits. Even in the cruel magic simulation rooms, he endured maximum pain in total silence to strengthen his mind. Sighing, the teacher comments to another student that Jiang Yan's insane determination would never be contained by a simple F class. Listening to everything with his arms crossed, Wang Kaiming stays quiet, he who is always the second best in the whole high school. With a calm expression, Wang agrees with the master, stating he perfectly understands the former genius's level of effort. In his memory, the violent final battle the two fought in the school arena during freshman year resurfaces. Seeing the MC's absurd persistence while completely beaten up back then, the fighter admits he was completely won over by his spirit. Back to reality, the guy straightens his uniform and decides to go to the training area to see what the arrogant Yang is going to try to do. Walking toward the exit, Wang makes it clear he will not allow anyone to touch his true rival besides himself. Returning to the battlefield, Jiang Yan breathes with extreme difficulty, feeling his current body cannot handle so much intense combat in a row. Sitting on top of an absurd mountain of defeated rabbits, he calculates he only needs to beat the area's king to reach level 5. Suddenly, the giant beast with a huge red crystal on its head appears before the boy, exuding an intimidating fury. Taking heavy damage, the young man realizes his internal injuries are very serious, and his experience bar is stuck at 94%. Ignoring his opponent's state, the boss rabbit starts scraping its paws on the dirt ground, prepping a devastating attack. With terrifying speed, the monster kicks up dust and charges like a bulldozer at its target. Using his boots' extra agility, the boy barely dodges, knowing a direct clash is a sure loss, but he already has a plan. Just then, the enemy's crystal starts emitting intense heat, indicating its innate fire headbutt ability has been activated. Snapping his fingers with a confident smile, the MC announces that this was exactly the opening he was waiting for to use his modification. Instantly, the system's power invades the monster's body and alters the original technique into a fatal flaming head detonation. Unable to cancel its own attack, the Rabbit King's head begins to accumulate an unstable amount of magic energy. A colossal explosion swallows the monster whole, and the boy jokes about how useful it is to have an enemy with a self-destruct ability. Amidst the smoke, the MC smiles relieved while the system confirms his highly anticipated evolution to level 5. Outside the dungeon, the main screen suddenly updates, announcing that Jiang Yan smashed the area's record in 26 minutes. Arriving right on time, Yang and his group freeze, refusing to believe the previous round's time was cut in half. Shaking with rage and envy, the berserker yells that it is impossible for someone with useless classes to be so fast, accusing his rival of cheating. Staring at the glowing screen, the bully plans that proving the former genius's fraud will be the final blow to ruin his reputation once and for all. Snapping his fingers with pure malice, Yang marches toward the base entrance, dying to rip off the boy's mask of perfection. Far away, in the depths of the dungeon, the MC uses his modified resurrection ability to heal all the wounds on his body. Fully recovered, he faces the dark path ahead and acknowledges that the next stage's boss is a threat on another level. Gripping his steel sword tightly, he remembers how much the Cyclone Wolf King turned his past life into a real nightmare. With his eyes shining with determination, the young man moves down the corridor, ready to pay back all the suffering that beast caused with interest. Outside the advanced sector, the massive doors of the place known as the Rookie Gauntlet await their next victim. In the shadows of that area, the monstrous wolf pack rules the territory, boasting levels bordering 10 and wiping out level 1 freshmen. For any regular beginner, crossing that gate just means stepping into the area to get a brutal beatdown from those fast beasts. Walking through the massive training area, the boy knows the rewards of this place are frighteningly high. The system warns that defeating the Wolf King guarantees enough experience to jump straight to level 10. For a normal freshman, reaching that benchmark would take about 10 days of hard effort. But clearing this base quickly allows him to awaken his second innate ability right away. Focused on his goal, he understands that achieving this will grant him permission to level up alone in the wild, which is essential for his growth. Far from there, one of the guards asks worriedly if Wang Kaiming is sure he wants to challenge the place alone, since only high-level teams try that. The officer warns that an A-rank genius student already tried this crazy stunt before and ended up so hurt, he missed the college entrance exam. With a cold posture, Wang wonders if that double effing trash really wants to go in there to seek his own end. Ignoring the warnings, the guy thanks the older man for his concern, but states he has already made his decision. Annoyed by the stubbornness, the guard yells that he does not care and tells the young man to go meet his ultimate failure if that is what he wants. Entering the dungeon, Wang notices he is being underestimated, but he is not going to stop seeking strength just because a wild dog barked on the way. Back in the advanced area, the fierce wolves start growling and charge with everything they have at Jiangyan. Without stepping back, the MC rushes swiftly against the beasts across the desert terrain. With a brilliant strike of his sword, he eliminates the monsters and announces it is time to test their strength after so long. Watching everything from above, the officer mocks him, amazed to see such a rare double F-class loser in the world try something like this. The guard grumbles that the boy is just an overly confident idiot for attacking so recklessly. However, Jiangyan keeps slicing the wolves with ease, stacking up a flood of experience points with every takedown. Shocked by the scene, the man does not understand how the rookie can fight so relaxed without even using his class abilities. Sweating cold, the officer starts to question if that guy is truly a real prodigy. Sometime later, dirt flies as the last common wolf falls defeated on the ground. The MC rests on top of a colossal mountain of monster remains he just took out. Utterly stunned, the guard finally admits the young man is an undeniable genius. Afraid of being humiliated for having mocked the boy earlier, the officer decides to flee the observation area as fast as possible. Down below, the guy pants heavily, admitting he would have fallen hundreds of times if not for his resurrection ability. The system screen glows, confirming the use of the healing power that consumes a lot of mana to restore his body. Looking at the aftermath, he notes that these wolves surpass the previous rabbits in speed, strength, and intelligence. Even healed, the young man feels the pain from the brutal injuries is still alive in his body, but he decides to ignore it. Right then, he pulls his battle-worn sword out of one of the beast's bodies with a firm grip. Totally focused, he feels an unshakable determination to keep moving forward. Facing the huge shadowy beast approaching, he guarantees he will endure any pain to change his destiny and defeat the area's king. The massive cyclone wolf king roars fiercely, showing all its fury against the invader. The system displays the level 10 boss's data, highlighting its fur that resonates with the wind element. Keeping his cool, the MC remembers this monster has speed abilities and wind claws. The magic descriptions confirm the absurd speed and damage bonuses the creature can use in battle. Analyzing the situation, the young man concludes that trying to forcibly modify those spells might end up causing a fatal error. With the beast charging fast toward him, he wonders what the best approach is to win. Without hesitating, he reaches for the collar of his own shirt. With an aggressive pull, the guy rips his uniform, deciding he is going to solve this problem with brute force. Gripping his sword tightly, he remembers he does not solely rely on his divine system abilities. Jumping high up against the monster, the former genius proves he has always mastered both magical arts and close-quarters combat. He unleashes a crushing blow wrapped in pure light against the boss, using all his accumulated power. Meanwhile, outside the rabbit area, some students breathe a sigh of relief for being rescued in time. Covered in bruises, Yang Hongwei's group desperately celebrates the simple fact they are alive. Annoyed, one of the guards scolds them, questioning why they invaded the advanced area instead of leveling up peacefully in the basic sector. Frustrated and hurt, the bully refuses to accept failing against the boss even with his team, unable to understand how his rival managed to clear the place. Desperate, Yang yells at the top of his lungs that the MC definitely used some kind of cheat. At that moment, the association's screen updates again, revealing that Jiang Yan defeated the boss wolf in just 33 minutes. The cronies are terrified to notice the rookie managed to cut down the old record by almost a whole hour. Watching the scoreboard from afar, Wang Kaiming proudly praises his true rival's excellent performance. Rejecting reality, the berserker blames the former genius for forcing him to take drastic measures. Thirsty for payback, he calls his group to head to the wolves' base, swearing he is going to ruin the boy's reputation forever. Back in the dungeon ruins, the MC's stained sword rests planted in the ground after the fierce battle. Bathed in an evolutionary light, the guy celebrates reaching level 10 and finally being able to awaken his second ability. The system processes the class advancement, granting him the farmer class's innate plant grafting ability. Very excited with the result, the boy wastes no time and activates his divine modification power right on the spot. The magic interface twists the original technique, turning the simple botanical graft into a powerful universal graft. With this upgrade, he gains the ability to fuse two different biological species to create superior life forms. Even aware of the limitations of this process, the young man knows he just acquired the most dangerous supreme technique of all. In his mind, he visualizes magical beasts fusing their powers to create S-rank creatures capable of defying the heavens. He concludes that if he gets a tamer scroll, he can make contracts with these abominations to fight by his side. This way, he will have an army with the most loyal and devastating battle pets in the world. Feeling quite nostalgic, the boy remembers all the achievements the big shot stole from him using his powers in his past life. Remembering the shadows of those who treated him like a pawn, he feels the weight of his silent payback. Gripping his sword's hilt, the young man takes a deep breath to push away those dark memories and focus on the present. Satisfied with the end of the hunt, he considers it a success and decides it is time to leave. On the ground, he finds a valuable magic crystal, amazed at his luck for getting an item with such a low drop rate. Walking through the battlefield, he plans to use his new level 10 status to explore the wild jungle inside the demon lair. Since all items collected in the jungle belong to the hunter, he knows his financial problems will be over in no time. Suddenly, the guy feels a sharp pain in his ribs, realizing the physical ache is still a major nuisance. Assessing the damage, he regrets that going to the hospital right now would cost a fortune he simply does not have in his pocket. Deep in thought, the MC comes to the bizarre conclusion that the cheapest option is to self-eliminate to activate the healing resurrection. However, he knows doing that in front of the association guards would draw unwanted attention to his secret ability. Out of options, the boy decides to look for a well-hidden and isolated corner to initiate the self-reset in peace. He walks calmly through the vast courtyards of the military area in search of the perfect spot for his crazy plan. Outside, the main plaza remains packed with students and guards who have no idea the monster that was just born inside. Confused by the crowd, Zhang Yan does not understand why there are so many people gathered out there. Soon, one of the students points excitedly at the boy, letting the others know that the record-breaking rookie just arrived. With that, the MC realizes the high school seniors came to see up close the person responsible for beating the dungeon time. Walking calmly, he judges that the place is way too crowded, and that it would be a terrible idea to use the resurrection ability in front of everyone. Touching the wound that bleeds more and more, he knows that magically healing himself in front of the crowd would draw a lot of unwanted attention. Pondering, the guy tries to come up with a strategy to slip away from the group and take care of the injury in secret. Suddenly, a bright magic flash lights up the whole area. A golden aura shaped like a giant angel descends upon the MC, rapidly healing his wounds. The audience is amazed, instantly recognizing the power of the S-rank support class known as Holy Angel. Walking calmly, a young woman illuminated by a greenish energy appears in the middle of the courtyard. The students are even more shocked noticing the girl is part of the prestigious Yao family. Feeling his body relieved, the boy acknowledges that the divine help came at a great time. The young lady maintains a serene posture while watching her magic's effect. Approaching her, the former genius thanks her for the healing that closed his wound completely. As a way of returning the favor, he promises to fix her equipment in the future, since healing power is something he claims not to have. Satisfied with the proposal, the young woman smiles and agrees that she will count on his skills when she needs them. Ruining the mood, Yang Hongwei shows up in the plaza provoking and calling the MC a cheater. Full of himself, the arrogant guy points at the boy and asks the crowd not to be fooled by that scam. He yells that the record time was achieved through lies, as it is impossible for someone with 2 F-rank classes to pull that off. The crowd goes into shock, remembering that a creation class literally has 0 combat power. Taking advantage of everyone's doubt, the bully argues that the only way to clear the dungeon would be by buying super expensive gear. Staring down his rival, Yang mocks him, saying the boy resorted to dirty tricks because he could not handle being bested in the awakening. Pointing his weapon at his target, he reminds everyone that the former genius always posed as a very poor student. With that, he accuses the guy of defrauding the school's financial aid to fund his secret luxuries. The crowd quickly switches sides, feeling disgusted thinking they were played by a fake scholarship student. Finding the situation amusing, Zhang Yan stares at the berserker and asks what he needs to do to prove his innocence. Extremely confident, the bully demands the rival take off all his gear and throw down right then and there. Worried, the girl from the Yao family holds the MC's arm, advising him to ignore this childish trap. But the guy simply adjusts his weapon on his shoulder, thanking her for the concern and showing he has the situation under control. With a heavy thud, he plants the steel sword in the ground and accepts the challenge completely unbothered. Analyzing the situation, the MC decides to end the problem right there before it messes up his future plans. The berserker finds the audacity ridiculous and makes his body erupt in an intense red aura to intimidate his opponent. Activating his rage ability, Yang yells that he is going to rip off the boy's hypocrite mask by beating him up. The tension rises as the two take their stances in the plaza to start the brawl. With a serene look, Jiang Yan taunts by praising the enemy's pose, hoping he can handle the pressure. He understands perfectly that the bully wants to use his A-rank brute force to crush him publicly. Rolling up his shirt sleeves, the boy reflects that the high class is just a bonus the enemy overestimates. Getting into fighting stance, the former genius warns that true strength does not depend on magic levels. Totally enraged, Yang charges like a wild bull at his target. Watching from afar, the healer fears the worst, knowing the power gap between their classes is brutal. Unfazed, the MC keeps his guard high, ready to end the fight quickly. Showing his bare feet, he explains he undid the modifications on all his items, fighting without a single magical advantage. With an aggressive leap, the berserker declares it is the end of the line for his rival and readies the final blow. Jiang Yan easily dodges the charge with a fluid movement, leaving the enemy in disbelief at his miss. Frustrated, Yang follows up with a right hook charged with his red energy. Refusing to accept the miss, the big guy unleashes a frantic flurry of punches, swearing he is going to land at least one. With absurd reflexes, the MC dances around the aggressive strikes without taking a single scratch. Dodging another dangerous lunge, the guy mentally admits that a berserker's strength is impressive. But taking advantage of an opening, he reminds his opponent that any deadly attack becomes useless if it does not hit the target. Positioned behind the enemy's back, the young man explains he studied his moves for 3 years and that punching the air is just a waste of energy. Showing no mercy, the former genius lands a devastating punch right in the rival's stomach. With an icy glare, he states that the bully never had the skill to read his fighting patterns. The brutal impact makes Yang cough heavily, unable to process how he was outplayed so easily. The cronies scream in panic as their leader drops hard on the stone floor. Looking at the fallen body, the boy realizes he is still on a level completely out of reach for the big guy. The crowd panics, unable to believe the worst class in the world just humiliated an A-rank fighter. Dusting off his hands, the MC decides the drama is over and he is not wasting any more time there. Walking away, he announces he plans to explore the wild jungle, but will need new items first. In his mind, mastering the modification ability ensures that creating perfect equipment will be no problem at all. Scratching his head, he decides to swing by the street stalls around the base to buy basic items and use them as a template. Looking at the few coins in his palm, the boy sighs, realizing his lack of money is going to make shopping tough. Suddenly, a fast punch stops just millimeters away from his face. Unstartled, he simply swats the attack away with a tap, handling the aggressor easily. Turning around calmly, he scolds the prank, asking if the guy is going to try the same trick again. Walking toward him, Wang Kaiming praises the sharp reflexes of the one who is always number one in school. Excited about the reunion, the newcomer tosses a soda can to his old rival. Catching the drink, Jiang Yan notes the friend watched the commotion, and Wang assures he would have stepped in if things got out of hand. Opening his can, the fighter makes it clear the MC is the only opponent he respects, ignoring trash like Yang. Analyzing the previous fight, Wang comments that the former genius held back a lot and hid his true strength. Wang's mind goes back in time, recalling the intense duel they fought in the arena during freshman year. Back then, the fighter ended up completely beaten up and had to accept the bitter defeat. Back to the present, the two take a sip of soda, while the MC notes his friend always admits defeat ever since that day. The former genius argues his buddy only gave up on winning to hand over the scholarship, since his family is rich. Giving a genuine laugh, Wang denies the charity, confessing he felt real fear from the boy's relentless glare. With a sharp expression, Jiang Yan asks if his friend is going to chicken out again when they face off in the rookie tournament. With a confident posture, Wang Kaiming finds the idea impossible and guarantees he is going to beat his friend until he is looking for his teeth on the ground. Jiang Yan accepts the challenge right away, stating he's going to fight with everything he has and pull no punches. With that, the two clink their soda cans to seal their rivalry in a completely friendly way. Then the fighter tosses a card to the MC, letting him know there is 2,000 on it to buy the guide on how to clear the dungeon fast. Walking away backward, Wang holds up his phone and demands the former genius send over the tips as fast as possible. Holding his buddy's card, the guy just agrees to the condition and says goodbye. In his mind, he decides to cherish this favor and swears to pay back the financial help tenfold in the future. Excited to finally have cash in his pocket, the boy decides to check out the street stalls to see what he can find. As he walks relaxed, he wonders curiously what treasures might be waiting for him around there. A short while later, he arrives at the city's famous and shady street stall black market. Observing the crowd, he remembers that is the cheapest place of all, where it is almost impossible to find a highly valuable item. But even knowing the odds, he stays optimistic and believes it is not totally impossible to hit the jackpot. Just then, the young man finds a weapons vendor advertising a demonic meteorite blade, equipped with a cyclone wolf crystal. The system displays the level 10 weapons attributes, highlighting that durability is at 12% despite its good magic attack. Full of attitude, the vendor charges 18,000, no haggling, claiming if the durability were full it would be worth at least 25. Thinking the price is way too steep, Jiang Yan points to a simpler sword, and the merchant replies instantly that one goes for 5,000. The magic interface reveals it is a common level 10 blue steel sword with 65% durability. Straight to the point, the MC offers to fix the meteorite blade in exchange for taking the steel sword for free. The vendor takes off his sunglasses completely surprised and asks if the boy really has that kind of skill. With his hand glowing with magic energy, the young man suggests a test, mentally remembering his true target has always been the steel sword. Focused on the simple weapon, he knows if he uses his innate modification ability on the cheaper sword, the result will be incredible. In his mind, the guy envisions the steel weapon turning into a legendary gear, capable of summoning an overwhelming power. Suspicious of the offer, the merchant questions the boy's rank, explaining that restoring an equipment's durability is quite hard. Keeping his cool with magic pulsing in his hand, the former genius reveals he has an F-rank creation class. Hearing this, the vendor stands up and says he is also from the creation field, but holds the proud D-rank blacksmith class. Holding the sword, the man claims to know way more about weapons than a student, confessing that even he cannot guarantee the fix. Acting like a teacher, he explains that once an equipment's durability hits 0, the item simply shatters completely. To repair the damage, the blacksmith details that it is necessary to analyze the entire structure of the weapon and reconstruct the magic inside it. With a sense of superiority, the man proposes that if the boy fails and the durability drops, he will have to pay the 18,000 for the weapon. Unintimidated by the risky bet, the MC holds the merchant's challenging gaze in the middle of the crowded street. Watching the scene from afar, the Yao family healer remembers that even the B-rank professionals from her guild struggle to fix weapons. Totally confident, the boy takes the meteorite blade from the man's hands and tells him to pay close attention to the process. Running his hand over the blade, he remembers that in his past life he fixed A-rank and S-rank artifacts for the big shots holding him down. Back then, while most gave up on the useless class, his obsession with perfection made him push the skill to its absolute limit. Back in the present, the former genius realizes with satisfaction that this old habit became one of his greatest current advantages. The magic energy wraps around the blade's internal structure, flawlessly rewriting the flaws and restoring the damaged metal. Holding the now brightly glowing weapon, the guy brags that fixing low-level gear is the easiest thing in the world. The onlookers around them are amazed by the demonstration, impressed that a simple student has such an absurd level of mastery. Shocked by the guy's talent, the young healer realizes the promise he made earlier was not just empty words. Staying humble, the MC hands the meteorite blade back to the vendor, with its durability restored to 100%. Impressed with the result, the blacksmith apologizes for doubting the rookie and acknowledges he is a truly rare talent. Very hyped about the profit, the man honors the deal and hands over the blue steel sword to the boy gladly. The young man thanks him for the gift, while mentally planning to use his innate ability to alter the item's name and awaken its power. Accessing the system panel, he applies the divine modification and changes the basic composition of the steel weapon into a legendary material. Immediately, the blade erupts in a blinding golden light, being reborn as a powerful near-divine artifact capable of destroying armies. This mythical weapon belonged to a divine general who charged enemy lines countless times in the most ancient legends. Satisfied with his new sword, Jiang Yan feels relieved he saved his friend's money so he can pay his college tuition. The boy's mind drifts to his parents' memorial service, remembering that his little sister suffered a lot from the loss and did not overcome the trauma. Knowing she will become someone huge in the future, the guy feels the responsibility and wants to ensure the girl's living expenses before leaving. Suddenly, a very familiar voice calls the MC by surprise, asking if he accepts being hired to help level up. The young woman from the Yao family approaches, offering 50,000 for the service of carrying her through the dungeon until she reaches level 10. Faced with such a generous amount, the former genius accepts the support job right away, thinking it is an excellent deal. Excited about his sudden luck, he mentally celebrates the fact that money is literally knocking on his door with zero effort. Wasting no time, the wealthy girl turns to the merchant and announces she is going to buy the highly coveted meteorite blade. Sweating cold from the unexpected sale, the vendor warns about the astronomical price of the fully repaired weapon and asks if she is sure. The healer just tosses a magic storage ring into the man's hand to foot the bill, leaving him shocked by so much wealth. Treating his customer like an absolute queen, the blacksmith bows and hands over the luxurious sword with all the respect in the world. Watching the over-the-top reaction, the MC finds it funny, since he noticed from the start her clothes screamed money. With the transaction done, the rich girl walks back over to the guy with the newly bought blade in her hands. Looking at her, he plans to use the girl's buffs to wipe out a hidden boss he never managed to face in his past life. A bit shy, the young woman extends the meteorite blade to the MC, asking him to accept the luxurious weapon as a partnership gift. Caught off guard by the extreme kindness, the boy is impressed by his partner's manners in dropping a fortune on him. Without false modesty, he thanks her for the gift and takes the weapon, letting her know he will use the gear's full potential in the dungeon. Happy with his reaction, the healer senses the guy has a bright future and decides to invest in this alliance from the start. Pumped, the former genius slings the blade over his shoulder and calls his ally to head straight to the novice training base. Right after, the duo arrives at the massive combat complex created especially for newly awakened students. Already inside the dungeon, the MC dashes like lightning, shredding monsters with swift strikes that leave the girl startled. The fierce battle is so intense that the guy breaks his own time record, making his ally jump several levels at once. Outside the association, the massive magic screens will not stop beeping, announcing the broken records in real time. The crowd of students goes wild, shocked to find out the boy dragged the princess of a powerful family into the arena. Not understanding the general amazement, one of the more clueless freshmen asks which rich family they are talking about. A senior explains that the girl simply belongs to the group that runs the biggest national-level chamber of commerce in the entire country. Back on the battlefield, the young woman breathes very heavily, asking for a quick break before they hit the level 10 goal. Focused on the hunt, the MC advises her to rest while they walk, ensuring her body can handle their current pace. With a sharp gaze, he turns toward the depths of the dark cave, eager to use her buffs against a real threat. Excited by the challenge, Zhang mentions that this is the only novice base that reaches a C-rank danger level. The giant training complex of the Underworld Flame Boar towers imposingly before them. Watching the duo, one of the guards recognizes the record breaks, but warns that the king in there is incredibly dangerous. The MC ignores the warning, arguing that the higher the risk, the bigger the reward they can grab. The healer calmly agrees, pointing out that having an S-rank support by his side makes the chance unmissable. Just then, the huge metal gates begin to open, and the officer wishes the two freshmen good luck. Thanking his kindness, the boy confidently walks into the darkness of the place alongside his newest ally. Already walking through the dungeon's dark forest, Yao Kexin finds the complete lack of monsters along the way weird. Keeping his guard high, the former genius explains the place does not have regular creatures like the previous areas. Surprised by the info, she asks if the entire challenge comes down to just a single final boss. Suddenly, the ground starts shaking violently, and the guy warns that the enemy is already approaching. From the shadows of the dense forest, the gigantic silhouette of a threatening beast finally reveals itself. Spooked by the monster's absurd size, the young woman steps back while the MC eagerly draws his sword. The fearsome underworld flame boar glares at the invaders with its glowing, intense blue eyes. Roaring with fury, the creature releases a terrifying magic aura, proving to be a lethal opponent. Focused on the fight, Jiang tells the girl to get ready and cast the holy light to heal him during his charge. With the magic active, he rushes swiftly at the monster, knowing he needs to dictate the pace of the fight. Taking an impressive leap, the boy states that taking the initiative is the only way to win the clash. Mid-air, the MC plans to use gravity and his body's rotation to slice the beast's neck. However, the giant boar notices the attack coming from above and locks its glowing eyes on the invader. Covered in a blue aura, the dungeon boss leaps incredibly high to intercept the strike before it lands. The former genius gets frustrated seeing the monster blocked his attack route and acknowledges the enemy's intelligence. Taking advantage of hanging in the air, he decides to act fast to modify his weapon without the healer noticing. Instantly, the divine power kicks in, transforming the basic sword into the coveted Kinghung blade. The equipment radiates an overwhelming energy, guaranteeing that no standard defense will withstand the next attack. The system confirms the creation of the legendary artifact with a fatal passive that ignores armor and cuts everything in half. Assessing the new weapon, the guy concludes it is impossible to break the laws of physics to create a divine item from scratch. Even so, the attack power multiplied by 5 and the armor penetration are more than enough. With a relentless motion, he brings the glowing blade down on the boar, taking absolute control of the clash. The devastating impact slices through the air, ripping off the monster's toughest tusk with terrifying ease. The beast crashes heavily to the ground, howling in pain after losing one of its main defenses midair. Landing nimbly, the MC reverts the sword's modification to hide his secret from his ally. Watching it all in awe, Yao Kexin cannot believe the destructive power of that single attack. With her mind racing, she deduces that a low-level weapon would never cause that much damage on its own. Staring at her teammate's back, the young woman concludes his martial skills outclass combat classes. The boy notices the healer's fixed stare and suspects she is zoning out during the fight. Without losing focus, he yells for a heal, warning they will lose experience if he takes down the boss without the magic buff. Snapping out of her thoughts, the rich girl thanks him for the heads up and casts her support light on the guy immediately. Positioned in front of the enraged monster, Jiang Yan decides it is time to wrap up the hunt. Analyzing his power, he notes the modification's instant cast also works as an attack. Holding his second weapon, he considers turning it into an artifact with divine power for the final blow. However, the former genius drops the idea, afraid of taking heavy damage if he tries to create an item that exceeds his level. Suddenly, the Boar King activates its innate ability and charges like a comet wrapped in blue flames. Adjusting his combat stance, the MC finds the move perfect, since he also wants to end the fight right there. A storm of magic energy erupts around the boy, prepping him for the devastating clash. Facing the flaming charge, Jiang Yan thinks fast about what alteration he will apply to the enemy's ability. With a risky plan in mind, he turns his head and tells the healer to close her eyes immediately. Totally confused by the sudden request, Yao Kexin asks what is going wrong in the battle. With a confident smile, the guy warns she will not want to see the brutal scene coming up. As soon as the girl covers her eyes, the MC reaches his hand out toward the monster to use his divine power. Snapping his fingers calmly, he alters the beast's powerful flame charge into extreme sluggishness. Instantly, the colossal boar loses all its speed and starts crawling on the field, vulnerable. Taking advantage of the practically paralyzed enemy, the former genius steps up and declares the end of the fight. With a clean and relentless cut, he slices the Dungeon King's throat, guaranteeing total victory. The beast's body breaks down into energy, and the system notifies the boy jumped 2 levels at once from the takedown. The rain of experience also hits the healer, who celebrates excitedly for leveling up 3 times in a row. Keeping his back turned, the young man is relieved to have hidden his alteration magic from his ally. Evaluating his partner, he thinks it is great having someone rich, obedient, and with healing powers for future dungeons. Satisfied with the result, Jiang Yan gives the girl the green light to open her eyes, declaring the contract complete. Opening her eyelids slowly, the rich girl processes the surrounding scene with a mix of relief and pure admiration. Looking at the monster's remains, the healer can barely believe the guy won the battle so fast. Gripping her staff tightly, she marvels at the absurd strength required to solo the supreme boss. Sheathing his sword, the MC announces the mission was a success and calls the girl toward the exit. Walking behind him, the young woman concludes that besides having monstrous talent, he respects his deals. Determined to reward him, she asks the boy to wait a second before they cross the end of the forest. Holding out her hands, the rich girl offers the agreed payment along with a small bonus as thanks. Surprised by the object's gleam, the former genius notices the girl is handing him a magic storage ring. This type of item defies the laws of physics and allows you to store equipment easily in an infinite space. Aware of the market, Jiang Yan tries to turn down the offer, warning that even the smallest ones cost a fortune. But Yao Kexin insists, arguing he will need the item way more than she will on upcoming adventures. Analyzing the situation, the boy realizes an inventory would make exploring the wild jungle a lot easier. Yielding to good arguments, he accepts the valuable gift and takes the ring from his kind partner's hands. As a way to return such generosity, the young man promises to do her a huge unconditional favor. Satisfied with their forged alliance, the healer agrees happily as the two continue their way. Outside, the rookie leaderboard reveals a fierce competition for the absolute top spot. Jiang Yan notices he is still first on the leaderboards, but knows the guys with higher-tier classes will catch up soon. Watching the screen, the MC analyzes powerful figures from the past, like the owners of the legendary Sword Saint and Blast Fighter classes. Just below, the system displays the data of an agile S-rank assassin focused on stealth attacks, showing the competition is going to be brutal. Remembering his past life, the former genius recognizes all these brilliant rookies and knows they will definitely be his opponents in the race for the top of the ranking. Full of expectations, he cannot wait for the moment he finally gets to throw down against every single one of them. However, before focusing on the intense tournaments, the boy knows he needs to handle a much more important issue at his own home. With a completely serious look, he decides it is time to go back and see his family. In his past life, the young man was taken away by the authorities, leaving his little sister to grow up completely alone and surrounded by deep isolation. Saying goodbye to Yao Kexen on the street, the MC says he has things to do, but promises they will run a dungeon together next chance they get. Arriving at his old neighborhood, the guy recalls that after being taken away back then, the only news he got from home came from other people. Even knowing his sister awakens a powerful A-rank combat class in the future, he feels her current self needs urgent help. Without hesitating, the young man opens the old metal door of the humble apartment where they always lived. Immediately, the girl announces dinner is on the table, revealing herself to be just a very quiet and withdrawn middle schooler. Sitting down for dinner, he notices the heavy silence in the room, remembering the girl changed ever since their parents made the ultimate sacrifice in the demon lair. 3 years ago, when their family was still whole and happy, the girl was much more cheerful and full of life than now. The boy knows very well that their parents' tragic loss completely destroyed the girl's emotional side. Breaking the silence, the girl suddenly stops eating and announces she plans to drop out of school. Caught completely by surprise by the news, the brother freezes with his chopsticks in hand and asks the reason for this craziness. Keeping her calm, she explains the college entrance exam is coming up, and his grades have always been perfect. The young girl mentions she already saw the city's rookie rankings and knows the MC grabbed the absolute first place. With that, the sister praises the guy's flawless persistence, certain he will become an incredibly powerful warrior to protect the world. As for herself, the student laments that her own average grades will not guarantee a great future anyway. With a resigned tone, she concludes it is much better to start working early to help pay the house's heavy bills. Staring the girl down, the former genius says he knows perfectly well that is a lame excuse and demands to hear the real reason. Before the answer comes, an older man opens the apartment door in an extremely tense atmosphere. Noticing the bizarre silence at the dinner table, the visitor swallows hard and asks if he should have come later. Sitting on the living room couch, the debt collector sighs in frustration and explains his microloan company is going bankrupt, or he would never collect the debt right now. The MC recognizes the older man, remembering a good chunk of the money to keep the house running for the last 2 years was borrowed from him. Assessing the situation, the young man deduces the collector definitely dropped by earlier to pressure the student about the payment. He finally understands his sister saw his high grades, but since they have zero money, the pressure of the loan pushed her to the limit. The former genius realizes with sadness that the girl does not want to be a burden, preferring to ruin her own academic future just to pay for his college. Totally focused on solving the problem, the guy walks up to the couch and asks what the total accumulated debt is from these 2 years. Rubbing his face, the collector confesses the original amount is over 43,000 and regrets having to squeeze them in this cruel way. Wasting no time, the boy tosses a stack of bills on the table, saying there is 50,000 there and the rest covers the debt's interest. His sister jumps out of her chair completely freaked out by the huge cash stack and asks where he got such a ridiculous amount overnight. The MC understands he needs to calm the girl down, but decides it is best to keep his mouth shut and not reveal his secret with a stranger in the room. Catching the guy's sharp look, the visitor gets the message right away and just nods silently. Opening the front door, the collector says a quick goodbye and lets them know he is available if they ever need anything in the future. As soon as the man leaves, the girl panics and warns that their late parents would be disappointed if the money was dirty or illegal. Giving her head an affectionate pat, the young man assures her he earned every cent using his own magical abilities completely honestly. He also promises that a lack of cash will not be a problem anymore, and that he is going to secure first place in the tournament to pocket the 300,000 prize. Holding the student by the shoulders, the guy makes it clear she does not need to ruin her own life anymore to support him through a university. The young girl finally realizes the former genius figured out her entire plan and lowers her head, completely embarrassed for being found out. At that, he hands more cash into the girl's hands, insisting she take it all because he knows very efficient methods to profit soon. Very hyped, the MC advises his sister to study and train hard, because when he rules the top of the military world, the pressure on her will be huge. With a joking tone, he warns that being the relative of the country's #1, she will be forced to become the strongest warrior of her own school year. Listening to the guy's encouragement, the young girl cannot hold back her emotions and starts crying out of relief for finally having her hopes renewed. Running into his arms, the girl gives him a very tight hug and tearfully swears she will never bring shame to their family's sacred name. Hugging his little sister back, the guy decides he is going to focus on making a ton of money and leveling up non-stop to secure the tournament crown. Later on, he analyzes the city's geography and remembers there is an excellent spot to farm experience past the human safe zones. The boy's target is the dreaded Poison Dragon Valley, a brutal map packed with monstrous beasts that allows absurdly fast leveling. Urban legends say that in the depths of that hellish valley live rare and highly dangerous magical beasts shaped like dragons. These winged beasts are described as cruel incarnations of the poison element, capable of melting mountains. Focused on becoming invincible, the guy plans to find an egg from that creature to use the graft ability and create a supreme battle minion. Super excited, he also dreams of shredding the monsters along the way to harvest and sell their magic crystals that are worth an absolute fortune. Wasting no time on doubts, the MC sets things in stone and declares that Fatal Forest will be his first big adventure in the wild world. The next day, the transport bus announces it has finally arrived at the Grand Military Station that grants access to the demon lairs. Observing the imposing entrance, the young man knows that to reach the distant dungeons, he will need to cross a massive zone crowded with dangerous mercenaries. This scary place is a true hardcore fortress built by humans under a sky that constantly burns in an intense red. Separated from the real world by a single heavily guarded pass, the area serves as the central survival base against the region's evil hordes. The former genius recalls that in his past life he was taken away and forced to use his creation power several times to benefit the two level 70 guardians there. Scanning the crowd in the military lobby, he notices all the warriors there wear the best and most expensive gear possible to survive the war. However, the guy mentally mocks those items, certain that next to his rich partner's absurd storage ring, all of that is just junk. Walking with strong determination, the MC crosses the massive main plaza and quickly reaches the feared east gate of the wall. Checking the system map, he confirms that leaving through that path guarantees the shortest and safest route past the low-level monsters in the jungle. With a cold look, the boy admits the Poison Valley will be the perfect elimination lab to maximize his level grinding quickly. Reaching the final checkpoint, he simply hands over his military ID showing his terrible dual creation class. Reading the rookie's file, the guard loses his cool and yells, warning that the wild zones are not a game and people actually lose their lives out there. Not giving a single darn about the desperate warning, the young man pulls his card back, thanks him for the concern, but guarantees with total coldness he is coming back in one piece. The officer watches the rookie's back walk away, feeling a moral obligation to stop an 18-year-old kid from becoming fresh food in the forest. Determined to do the right thing, the armored man steps up aggressively and reaches out his heavy arm to grab the rookie's shoulder by force. Taking advantage of the attack's slow opening, the MC dodges the grab with a short, bizarrely fast movement without even looking back. Stunned by the ridiculous miss, the officer sweats cold, unable to believe he was outplayed so easily despite being a powerful level 30 veteran warrior. Just then, another guard runs up and tells the captain to back down immediately, warning that kid is the insane monster who humiliated the newly set records. Staring at the solitary silhouette disappearing into the toxic mist, the commander lowers his weapon in total shock, questioning how the worst class in the world can hold so much strength. The guard cannot understand how a boy managed to break records not even S-rank veterans reached. It all starts in the terrifying Poison Dragon Valley. Assessing the situation, Zhang Yan knows the local toxic gas is highly dangerous and that antidote pills are essential to survive. With that, he swallows the medicine quickly, complaining the pill cost $50, does not last long, and he is super broke. Suddenly, a massive flying poison lizard, level 13, emerges from the shadows attacking violently. Unintimidated, the MC steps forward slicing the monster in half, announcing he was already expecting it. Satisfied with the experience gained, the guy realizes his progress there will be really fast and asks for more enemies to come. Determined to speed up his evolution, the former genius activates his innate modification ability. Walking through the dark forest, the young man readies his glowing weapon for a real sweep. The system confirms the evolution into the powerful Kingang sword, and he declares that hunting season has begun. With agile strikes, the boy slices several poisonous spiders at once, hitting level 16 quickly. Keeping the momentum going, he charges forward, shredding giant carnivorous plants along the way and bumps right up to 17. The takedowns continue as the guy destroys poisonous toads in bulk, hitting level 18 in the blink of an eye. Completely exhausted, the MC sits on a rock to drink water and check his progress in the system. Frustrated, he complains that despite taking out so many monsters, he did not get a single magic crystal to sell. Right then, an unfamiliar voice calls the boy's attention, asking if he was the one who caused that chaos. Turning his head, the MC recognizes Lu Yuan, a famous wind rogue who belongs to a wealthy city family. The newcomer approaches exuding a powerful and totally arrogant aura. Annoyed by the silence, the lackey points a finger and demands an answer, while the young man recognizes the bullies. Super chill, the former genius gets up from the rock and throws the question back with pure sarcasm. Enraged by the nerve, the crony yells asking if the rookie has any idea who he is talking to. But the rogue interrupts, praising the guy's skills and offering a spot on his hunting team. Ignoring the offer, the MC turns his back and walks away, knowing they just wanted to steal his experience for free. Super indignant, the subordinate asks the boss why he did not let him give the cheeky kid a good beatdown. With a dark look, Lu Yuan admits the rival is talented, but promises next time he will let the lackey loose to attack. Hyped by the permission, the crony cracks his knuckles, swearing he is going to make the F-rank trash beg for mercy. Far from there, the boy dashes across the branches, planning to take down a few more toads to hit level 19 before the antidote wears off. An hour goes by, and the guy walks alone through an emptier area of the poisonous valley. Scanning the environment, he sighs in frustration for not having found a single rare magic beast along the way. The former genius remembers the rumors about the feared local dragons, disappointed for not running into any so far. Suddenly, a sticky and extremely fast attack rushes straight at him. The boy deflects the giant tongue out of reflex, startled by the ambush that came out of nowhere. Acting on instinct, he lunges and tries to slice the weird thing with his glowing steel sword. Shocked, the guy realizes his special blade could not cut the target and praises the enemy's absurd defense. In the shadows, the gigantic silhouette of a monstrous toad rises, revealing the source of the attack. The massive beast readies its paws on the watery ground, exuding a heavy magic aura. The system identifies the creature as the Miasma Toad King, a terrifying level 20 boss. Quite confident, the MC smiles excitedly to finally find a boss that should drop good magic crystals. Wasting no time, the monster unleashes its giant tongue tangle ability against the target. The beast whips the air violently, but the boy dodges the fast attacks with plenty of agility. Focused on the enemy's pattern, the young man announces he already figured out exactly how to cancel out that annoying technique. Right away, he activates his modification, changing the tongue's accuracy to completely out-of-control movements. Taking advantage of the beast getting lost in its own attacks, the guy jumps high up, prepping the finishing blow. The sword hits the thing's head dead on, but the impact just creates sparks without causing any real damage. Making things worse, the Toad King activates a ridiculous defensive shield that completely zeroes out the modification's effects. Frustrated by the magic failure, the boy grumbles that this is the worst downside of altering an opponent's abilities. Dodging the strikes, he concludes that fighting higher-level beasts makes the power last very shortly or even fail. The Toad King gives no quarter and shoots its gross tongue at the invader once again. With a lot of speed, the MC jumps back, narrowly escaping the fatal attack. Cornered, the former genius realizes he has no choice but to bet everything on a highly risky move. Focused, he pulls the demonic meteorite blade from his inventory and uses his innate ability on it without hesitating. The equipment begins to glow brightly, distorting the reality around it with a bizarre energy. An explosion of red aura corrupts the weapon, turning it into the terrifying Demon King's blade. The boy tightly grips the cursed sword that pulses on a dark and completely destructive frequency. The system goes crazy, beeping while an ancient king's soul emerges, threatening whoever dared wake him up. Feeling the artifact's absurd weight, the young man understands the danger and knows he needs to wipe out the toad fast. With a colossal swing, he unleashes all the red power and cuts the giant beast without holding back. A beam of pure destruction tears through the whole forest, splitting the level 20 monster in half with a single strike. Totally drained, the MC falls to his knees, blown away by the weapon that sucked out all his vital energy. Making matters worse, the sword's dark energy creeps up his arm, breaking down his body rapidly. Breathing with extreme difficulty, the guy desperately tries to activate his modification to reverse the effect. His body gives out completely and the former genius collapses on the dirt ground, utterly out of energy to use magic. Staring at his own corroded arm, he laments his failure, feeling his energy slipping away through his fingers. The blade's demonic voice echoes in the boy's mind, demanding he pay the ultimate price for stealing that power. The ancient tyrant's soul laughs sadistically, swearing to wipe out the entire human race with a fraction of his full strength. Really calm, the MC draws a dagger and stabs it into his own wound, already prepared for this kind of extreme situation. Getting up slowly, he shuts the demon up, coldly revealing this was not his first time dealing with the curse. Immediately, a holy light invades the corrupted aura, suppressing the monster that was trying to take over the boy. The dark consciousness screams in pain as it gets sealed away again, swearing a terrible revenge against the human kid. Feeling immediate relief, the guy confirms that attacking the invading consciousness stopped his body's breakdown on the spot. Knowing what to do, he just waits for his energy to come back to rename the sword and end that nightmare. Resting on a rock, he remembers he made a very similar mistake in his other life using his innate power. In those cruel times, the summoned version was much more dangerous, forcing incredibly strong veterans to step in and save him. Analyzing the weapon, the young man admits that past trauma taught him that hurting the soul's source is the only way to win. Pensive and suspicious, he starts to wonder if these absurd entities are actually from this world or from something way worse. Holding the stained sword, Jiang Yan wonders if these demon kings come from an even more terrifying world. Right then, the boy puts the weapon away and decides he has rested enough to grab the loot, activating his magic to rename the blade. Walking through the forest, he tells the defeated Toad King he hopes not to be disappointed by the battle's reward. Suddenly, a purple magic crystal appears floating above the beast's remains. Hyped, the MC recognizes it as a boss crystal and celebrates that the item is worth at least 100,000 on the official market. Looking at the monster's remains, he notices high-quality materials that will also bring in good cash. However, the former genius knows selling through regular channels does not bring real profit and plans to squeeze the city's illegal trade. Soon, the young man notices he did not level up when he defeated the giant creature just now. The system panel updates showing he reached level 20 all at once for taking out that unknown entity. Very surprised by the unexpected bonus, the guy considers using this magic glitch on purpose to jump straight to level 100. But evaluating the extreme danger, he understands a single mistake with the glitch could destroy the entire city past the point of no return. With a cautious posture, the boy decides it is much better not to gamble his luck on such a fragile situation. With that, the MC remembers he gains a new innate ability every 10 levels and gets curious about his recent power. The magic interface reveals the evolution of the dismantle technique, handing over the farmer talent of pest immunity. Finding the gifts useful, he concludes that changing a single letter turns pest protection into divine damage immunity. Reflecting on the magic, Jiang Yan deduces the immunity will come with heavy restrictions, but will serve as a survival trump card. Satisfied with the hunt's rewards, the former genius decides it is time to head back home and takes off through the poisonous forest. While leaping swiftly across the high branches, the boy notices some strange movement right below him. Hidden in the shadows, he recognizes the arrogant lackey from earlier and gets curious about what the man is doing there alone. The rogue spots his target's presence and throws sharp daggers, calling the young man a double F-rank loser. Activating his max speed ability, the crony charges fiercely, swearing to teach the rookie a lesson in respect. Jiang Yan dodges the attack with extreme ease, leaving the aggressor clueless as to how a beginner can keep up with him. With a fast counterattack, the MC slices the air with his sword and grumbles that this fight is super boring. The block's heavy impact deflects the surprise attack and creates a violent dust explosion all over the scene. Lying on the ground badly hurt, the rogue spits heavily, unable to accept his victim has vastly superior reflexes. Shaking with hatred, the lackey remembers the boy pulled his weapon straight out of a purely luxurious magic inventory. Utterly frustrated, the crony wonders how the worst class in the city had the cash to show off such a pricey item. Resting his sword on his shoulder, the MC explains that having an attack-focused class does not make anyone invincible in a real fight. Walking toward the fallen opponent, the former genius makes it clear his master would need to show up to actually give him any trouble. Suddenly, magic blades fly through the air toward the guy, forcing the victim to take a quick evasive leap backward. The sharp flying strike grazes completely close to the boy's face. Dodging masterfully, Jiang Yan spots the incoming enemy and jokes that calling out the big boss always brings him around. Taking advantage of the opening, the master of rogues comes down with a brutal aerial attack that gets blocked right away. Pressing the blade hard, Lu Yuan praises the absurd quality of the heavy sword wielded by the rookie. Without dropping his guard, the MC returns the compliment, saying the enemy's saber also has a great finish. The heavy magic collision pushes both warriors violently, opening a large gap of distance in the dirt arena. Keeping an imposing stance, the rich guy announces he came to personally test the true strength of the current #1 rookie. Super chill, the young man notices the leader is not convinced the top ranking was earned fairly. Determined to profit from the clash, the former genius proposes a risky bet where the loser will have to hand over their own weapon. Lu Yuan accepts the rules immediately and shoots off like a deadly bolt after activating his supreme wind ability. Gripping his sword tightly, the MC gets hyped for the showdown, waiting for the newest fat deposit into his bank account.